He had an outstanding 20 minutes when he came on the pitch. Both of those players, I would expect them to start Thursday. But Simon, I want to get your take on the substitutions finally working for Pochettino, and even from a managerial standpoint, does that add confidence to him in what he's doing with the bench players?
Well, yeah, and as I'd already touched on the point that it's finally some inspired substitutions, and as I said, some was probably a little disappointing, but Ali put in a good shift. He bossed himself about a bit, and but Townsend and Lamela both came on and were a touch above how those two had performed, and it'll be interesting now getting into the groove of the Thursday-Sunday routine and the midweek games that we'll talk about that coming up thick and fast, and having to play the rotation. And of course we've got some injuries piling up right now with another one today. Hopefully it's not too bad, but when you stretch it off, that's never a good sign. Obviously Dembele has not recovered from his ankle from a couple of weeks ago, and it's the first I heard of Bentaleb being out. So, Eriksen's still not recovered, and that's some worrying midfielders where we were stacked in midfield before. Now we're missing potentially 4 of them, with 4 games coming up in the next, arguably, 11 days or so.
It's really going to be interesting. You mentioned Eriksen, and that's going to be, I guess, a good problem to have when you have Eriksen, Son, Ali, Chadley. Who are you going to sit? You got to sit one of them. Not to mention that Clinton ought to be getting ready to get some play time. I'm hoping to see him Thursday, maybe in the striking position, give Harry a day off, especially since he played international. And the defensive midfield, with Musa out, Nabil out, Mason's obviously going to miss Thursday. It really offers, I think, Pochettino a chance to do some experimenting with that defensive midfield. At the end of last season, I think it was the Everton game, Danny Rose played, I think, attacking kind of wing play. But I could see Danny maybe slotting in the defensive midfield.
He did that at Sheffield. He did that at Sheffield United in the home leg.
Oh, okay, well, there you go.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking maybe
that.
Danny would be a good option for that. I hate burning him up like that in Europa. It'd be interesting to see if Tom Carroll gets a start in that position, maybe with him. Maybe, and Simon, you touched on this at the end of last year, maybe even Lamela, the way he races back and defends in the midfield. He looked horrible trying to tackle Kabul on the byline today in the final third. But in the midfield, he tends to play well defensively, I think, as well as any of our other midfielders. So it's going to be really interesting to see how Pochettino moves those pawn pieces around, given all the injuries that we have. Because Mason, Bentaleb, Dembele, they're all out. I don't know when they're supposed to be back. We've got a ton of really important fixtures coming up. Thursday will be the last, dare I say, easy match that we play for a while.
Yeah.
Palace is never easy. City, obviously. We got the scum in the cup. It piles on after that.
It's brutal.
It's brutal.
I think we need to probably talk a little bit about Thursday, because we've got some defenders who haven't seen any minutes right now. Fazio, Wimmer, Trippier. 3 of those are likely to start.
Yeah.
So that we can rest the other 3 guys. Again, if Danny is still injured, then Davis has to play double duty. It will be interesting to see what does shape up in the defensive midfield role, because unless he's planning to use Dyer again, Tom Carroll would probably be the likeliest candidate to slot in next to him.
I bet you see Harry Winks. I wouldn't be surprised if you see Harry Winks.
Is Pritchard healthy as well?
And Pritchard will feature as well. And now with Mason out and Dembele out, I mean, it puts Pritchard in the frame for...
So do you really put Carroll and Winks together? Is that risking too much?
No, I wouldn't do that. I only say that about Winks because I've heard in spots of Pochettino.
Right. I think he could make the bench for obvious reasons that we're going to rest some people. But I think you're going to have to start with Dyer. You're probably going to put Carroll next to him. I think Lamela and Townsend have probably made their case for starting. Does Clinton come in on Thursday? I think he could probably be on the bench if he's fit. and Harry comes off early. And maybe Chadley's in the hole, or maybe Son's given a run out.
So you know what I think is pretty cool, Simon?
He's still got the options, but we can't afford, and maybe Pritch starts in the hole, but we can't afford any more injuries without getting some folks back.
No, but it is nice though that even with 4 injuries, four of our better midfielders are all out. Yet we still, as you just said, have options. And, as we've, on the heels of a transfer window that some may feel that we didn't do, the complete business, here we are. We're talking about 4 guys out, and we've still got midfield options.
But I think we need to review that with a touch of caution, because of all those options I just mentioned. For starters, the normal starters are now your subs, so if you need to make some substitutions, those are your guys. So that's where the depth kind of ends.
We're fortunate it's Karabag, right? Surely the deepest, darkest recesses of our substitutes can handle up on Karabag.
You would hope. This is the Europa League, and did we put?
This will be their Super Bowl.
Other than the Tripoli, the Asteris Tripolis game where we won 5-1.
Yeah.
I don't think we impressed at all in the Europa League last season.
No, but I think we have the makeup of players now that, like a Kevin Wimmer and a Trippier, I think guys like that will play their backside off compared to like a Vlad Kirikesh. I view those guys as spirited guys with a greater point to prove, and I think they will play.
Faz definitely has a point to prove, because he was doing, much to my embarrassment, he was doing better towards the end of last season, and here he is falling to 5th in the pecking order.
And
well, he's I say take that back. He's 4th now, because it looks like Dyer has cemented the midfield role. So he is, him and Wimmer are your backups.
Yeah, we've got a good setup. We've got a good system now of quality players pushing players with quality. Like, Lamela, we talked about the fact that today was his first really good substitute performance. Well, why? He's got a really good player in front of him, Son. And he's going to have to play really well in a substitute situation, and whatever chances he's given, to beat a guy like Son. So,
and if Son has an adjustment issued, or it's taking him a little bit longer than Pochettino likes to get used to the speed and the physicality of the league, he can interchange them and let him come off the bench maybe for 1 or 2 games.
And I watched that. I watched it twice today, and the second time that I watched it with specific emphasis on Son, on Dyer, on Mason. And my only real knock on Son was the speed of the game is, I think it's different. Like, he's not a stout defensive player. He's going to have to get better in that part of his game. He didn't run a lot. He got subbed around the 65th minute, I think, and frankly, I felt like it was time for him to come off. I think he was a little gassed, and I think he did some good things and made some good, like you said, made some good corners.
No, Eriksen's a completely inept defender. Completely. So it doesn't have to be a major part of his game.
Yeah.
But if it's not, you better be creating offensively.
Well, it's funny.
That.
That's a great point. I thought about that today. I thought, well, you know what? It's so great that you said that, because I viewed him as, well, you know what? He's a bit of a luxury player, and luxury players like that, they come with some deficiencies, and so what? And you know what? We don't really have a whole lot of luxury players on our team, right? Guys that only do flashy stuff offensively and don't play defense. We really don't. Everybody here plays multiple roles and has multiple responsibilities for the most part. Maybe Eriksen, to your point. So you're right. Maybe Son is, as long as he does great things offensively.
Yeah. And I really hope that Clinton gets a run out on Thursday, because I want to see that speed. I want to see what eventually will happen when you possibly get a chance to pair him with Harry along with Eriksen and either a Chadley or a Townsend or something. It could be blinding. And then with these guys just being kids, and I'm getting way ahead of myself. When you eventually bring Yedlin up into the group, that's a lot of speed to have out on the pitch, and it kind of seems that that's where we're putting our bread and butter, is going to be in pace. And we were texting back and forth during the match. And about the 70th minute, a lot of their players started kind of dropping out. They were grabbing hamstrings. They were, bent over, grabbing water bottles during, quick breaks and whatnot. And I said, we're going to win this game on fitness. And I don't know that we necessarily won it on fitness, but we were definitely the more fit team out there the last 15 minutes of the match. And I think having that much pace, run opponents into the ground, and then have the skill players with those fitness levels take over and try to win a match 1-0 in the 82nd minute, that, once again, may be our MO for this year.
Think about it. I mean, Mason probably ran around today more than anybody else, and his goal was a dead sprint from midfield in the 82nd minute.
Yeah.
So I couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah, I have to agree with you, Ken. They were struggling. Even Dick Advocat said after the game that some of his guys are just not match fit 100% right now, and I think at the 3-quarter mark they were definitely struggling, and that's where we know we benefited from that last season, and clearly we saw on display today against a team that is probably betting in a lot more players than us, because let's face it, there were only 2 new faces out there, Son and Alderweireld. Granted, Ali has played in a bigger role for us now, so for the most part, it's a lot of the usual guys playing for us, so they had a lot of new faces out there, and I think they were struggling towards the end.
Yeah, I really do think that it played a major role in letting us get the victory. I mean, listen, they hit the woodwork twice. They could have easily scored. We've been in the same position where we've hit woodwork or had great chances. Harry had 2, if not 3, really good chances to score today. And he really just needs to score in the league. And with the run of fixtures that we have coming up, it's almost imperative that we get our strikers off the schneid. We really have to get them to where they're hitting the back of the net, because we cannot get through these next 2 months relying on our midfielders to score the goals.
Yeah, just think Harry's trying too hard.
I think so too.
Yeah, just think he's trying too hard. Just needs to let it loose, like his goals in international play.
Yeah.
Just
now we usually save these things for at the very end of the show and for the Premier League. But I want to do a quick I have never in my life, admittedly, seen Karabakh play a match. I can't say that I have. So I want to do some predictions. And it's gonna these could be tongue-in-cheek and very fun. Simon, we'll start with you.
Oh, really?
You started with me last week.
Yeah, I know. We're not lighting up the world with goals, as you just mentioned, so I think 3-1.
Okay. A winner.
Yeah. Vaughan will play for Lloris. That's a given as well. So 3-1.
Sammy?
I know absolutely nothing about Karabakh. Is it Azerbaijan? Is that where they...
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Not Kazakhstan. This isn't like Borat's club.
Ukraine.
Azerbaijan. Okay. Champions of Azerbaijan.
The champions. Number 2 club in all of Azerbaijan. So they're number 1, right? I have no clue. I'm going to just say that we play a lot of kids. They're spirited. We're at home. Some of these kids will be academy products, and I say Spurs 37, Karabakh 1. I think it'll be a lot like Asteris at home. That was like 5-1, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I'm spirited victory.
Yeah, I'm thinking. I'm gonna say 5-0.
Yes, I love that.
I'm gonna go
feel good. I was kind of hoping that today.
What are you drinking?
So that'll be fun. I listen. We had all these Saturday games to start the year. We couldn't get a win, and we play a Sunday game, and look at us. So I'm kind of anxious to. Everybody hates the Thursday Sunday thing. I'm kind of anxious to get back to it. Let's see if we can get on a roll.
Just means more football, more Spurs. Yeah. I love it.
It's all positive juju thanks to Adebayo.
All right. Hey, can I read you guys? Can I read you guys a note that I took today? Because I use that record thing right when I'm watching notes, and it transposes my voice into notes. And I had this kind of manic moment. I'm trying to think when this was time wise, and these are my words, right? Because I recorded it first. It says, "Oh my God, as we're I can't even read my. Oh my God! I'm thinking to myself, holy shit, this is horrible. Our manager is not going to last